I'm showing up as an investor for the last 30 years and consultant for as many years, coaching businesses for the last 15 years, and more recently, and I say recently, in the last 5 years, creating a space for mentoring, bringing in trusted advisors, leaders to be able to connect. And out of that, I'm having currently a $1 million business challenge that we do on every 21 days of every month. It's the second month, but I'm saying I'm continuously doing and getting a lot of insights, a lot of connections. And of course, I'm looking for opportunities to do business or joint ventures or refer business. It's great coaching or good coaching that is on the verge of having a discovery. So here I see some of the great coaches of our time, my time, in a room, and yet I think they didn't reach that peak state. All of a sudden, it was each one of them had, in some cases, I didn't see any contradiction, and there wouldn't be any contradiction. I don't think you could have any contradictory, but just multiple approaches. But the thing that I tried to understand is which is the better one, or are they all better one? How do I adapt that? And is there something better that I'm missing here? What is something that is not showing up? What is it that they have put together, but they really haven't gotten to the top? And I think that's the facilitator, Robert, was trying to bring some cohesiveness to that. So some of the things the topics they went through, science-based coaching, flow psychology, back to basics, supervision, preparation, how do you prepare, risk of conceptualization, care of self and surrender, mentoring, preparation, and coaching, the difference, or the performance and achievement, the difference, the language of self-work. So all of these good topics in of themselves, but here's what I'm really think they missed on. I really think they missed on this. And what they missed on is how to elevate me as a coach to a higher level. So I could take some of these various practices and, okay, I could pick and choose and develop my own personality. This fits here or this fits in this situation. But where are we heading with all of this? And I think they missed it. And here's what I'm thinking is they're great as I was trained as coach. And from what I've read, to be able to have different pieces, but the whole picture is what's important. And the bigger picture is this, that we bring our clients to the ultimate level of self-actualization. And that, I think, is reached by very few people. And those people that reach it more often, those people that you mentioned earlier, that have the grit and the resilience and the optimism, the ultimate is to be in a flow state. A flow state where everything is timeless, effortless, high level of motivation, and constantly, I don't know if you can constantly be in the flow. I don't think so. I mean, if you're skydiving or if you're climbing a high mountain, and I used to be a climber, or if you're surfing, that flow state is only as long as the wave. The mountain's only as high as the mountain is. So after that, the flow is over. So maybe there's a time limit to that. The mountain may take a little bit longer. So all of those things, I'm thinking that's the ultimate in sports. And you can appreciate that from reading it. And to be able to get that, you really have to have your mental, emotional, and physical level to be able to reach those levels consistently, and be able to accept failures. Failures is a part of learning to go forward. And so that's the flow state, to teach, to coach, to be able to encourage flow state. And I think the speakers missed that. They focused on what we do mostly in coaching is, what do you want? Do you want more clients? Do you want more revenue? You want more market share? What is it that you want? And the clients always say, I want this as fast as I can in the shortest amount of time and with the least amount of effort. That's focus, but that's not flow. Flow is much more than that. And what I'm thinking aloud, Sarah, is that the clients tell us what they want. And of course, we're taught as coaches, well, work with the client. They know what they want, help them get it. But what they want and what they need are two different things. What they want is a focus, a short-term thing. What they need is a long-term flow state. And they don't know what they don't know. And what they don't know is that a flow state will be exponential as opposed to linear. A focus is linear, you get it short-term. The flow state will be exponential. You're rewarded even much so. You risk some, but not a lot. You mentioned Mikhail, who started the flow state. He defined what it is, the skills in tension with the challenge. So the key is to be able to get into a flow state and risk certain level, but continue in that, but not too much risk, because if you go too much risk, you either have anxiety or you die. That's too much. But if you don't have enough, you have boredom and listlessness. So the key is to be able to get in a flow state. And I'm saying that because my clients don't come to me saying, I want to be in a flow state. That's not what they ask for. That's not what they want. Well, or their knowledge. They don't know what they don't know. What they're saying is, I want more revenue, I want investors, I want more clients. And that's all short-term thinking. So, of course, all right, well, let's work with what you want, what you understand. But I think our obligation as coaches and as leaders is to be able to guide them into the flow state as best as they can with what they have. And I think that is our purpose, short-term and long-term, because it takes a little bit more, it takes a lot more grit to be able to stay out there. The time does, you invest a lot more. Planning takes longer, or the execution takes longer, but it's exponential. If you sat in with the other speaker that we had, they're defining the difference between linear and exponential. Well, let's go exponential. There's 3 levels of flow. There's what I call a micro level, micro flow, a macro flow, and a meta flow. And here's the differentiator of those. A micro flow is individual for the self. The macro flow, you could use different tools in a team environment or a group environment. And the meta flow is the complete organization. So an organization is comprised of multiple teams, and each team is comprised of multiple individuals. So I coined them as micro flow, macro flow, and meta flow. And some of those signals are differentiated between the individual and the team. Because communications and self-sessions, you could have self-communication, but certainly great communications is in team environment. Mutual goals, the things that you mentioned in the study of the Army, or how did they get to that level? Well, they're individuals, but they're also formed teams. The better teams always win. The better teams will always beat a group of great individuals, greater individuals, always. That's why we have sports. You can see it. That's why you have coaches, to be able to get them focused together and getting them into a state of flow. That's the macro level. And then the meta level is multiple teams in an organization that when you get those multiple macro flow teams working, it elevates the organization. One of my clients who started to be a high performer, and she's in charge of a team, and she took the coaching and started to disseminate it and coach her team. Communications, coordination, being able to pick up some skills, even some that she learned on her own. All of a sudden, this team is elevated. And I thought, how does that happen? And how wonderful that it did. And what's happening is now, and this has taken a year into, maybe 2 years into it, so it's not overnight. But now the rest of the organization is paying attention to that and trying to, of course, determine how do they do that? How do other team leaders do that and duplicate it? And we'll see. Be a researcher to be able to look for what are the flow signals, when are they in flow, and of course, there's a lot I wouldn't know. How do they prepare to get into flow? How would they jump into flow? How do I take something and bring it forward and useful and add to the tool set or the repertoire or the skill set and be able to get more clarity and be able to communicate it to someone else like you, Sarah, who's very knowledgeable. Communicate that this could have been very conscious into when I'm in a flow state. And part of it too deals with the subconscious, because then it's an automatic, it's flowing. So I'm trying to define for myself whether flow state really means that my subconscious takes over and I just flow with it. And is that what it means? And so I could do that in physical because there's some physical components. In a coaching environment or in a business environment, that physicality is covered. It doesn't appear, it's not as obvious. It's not as obvious as climbing a mountain or surfing a wave or being able to do some phenomenal physical aspect, playing a guitar. That's real. That's really an example of it. In business, it's like, when do you have flow? And of course, the rewards are more money or more revenue or more recognition, but that comes much later. So flow states, how do you have a flow state in a business environment, which is what I'm focused in, is an interesting, I think, way to pursue this science.